All right, so hi guys, welcome on in. We are going to just be doing this, Shannon and I, again today. Jules has another engagement she had to be at. And I'm excited because we are actually wrapping up our Wolfmothers Council today. It's been a really long journey with you guys. We had about 8 episodes, I would say, so 8 lives that we've done. And I'm so glad that you could be here too, Laura. Thank you for being here, everybody. Today we're just wrapping things up. We're going to go over just a couple more details about what this can look like in our life. But we're really going to be tapping into the parallel society idea, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't think that the need is not there to completely destroy this old system. I don't think it's even possible, to be honest. However, what is possible is creating these parallel systems, these matriarchal systems that run alongside the patriarchy in a parallel way. So we're going to tap into that a little bit today, as well as the role of men in a matriarchy and anything else that we just sort of forgot to add on that we want to talk about. Anything. We're just going to open the floor up for a bit longer today than normal. So Shannon, if you're ready, we can get started with a nice kind of opening grounding ceremony.
I brought a plant for us today. Actually, there's 2 in here, but primarily I wanted to focus on the St. John's wort, which is this yellow plant. This, if you notice, it's a 5-pointed star, and then it has like this burst in the center. So this plant always grows this time of year. Here in New England, and oftentimes St. John's wort is used, people associate it with treating depression, but honestly it's an empower. This is like your solar plexus. This is the plant that kind of embodies that. So as we're in like this culminative, kind of wrapping this up, maybe let's just place our hands on our hearts. I always do this with my eyes closed, so close your eyes or leave them open, whatever works for you. Just taking a breath in to center into the space and connecting into your own solar plexus, recognizing your own power center, recognizing that we're all encoded in our DNA with the moral code, with ancient wisdom, with an understanding how to live in balance and harmony with the laws of earth, with alignment, so that all beings can thrive. May we be empowered to be in the presence of that wisdom in this circle today, and then as we move forth from here. Thank you all for being here, and thank you. Yeah.
So it is.
So it is, yes.
All right, so I always like to open these up with a question for you to think about. So today's question is, if all of the systems that we know today had completely just demolished overnight, who is the first person you would call? Usually your answer is not the government or anything like that. It's usually your family or a neighbor or a friend. And that's kind of the basis of where our conversation is headed today. Correct. Your mother. Right. So what we're talking about is that is the beginning stepstones of creating your village, so to speak, your community, your matriarchal tribe, if you will. So today when we're talking about the parallel systems, we're including these people, right? The first person that came to your mind is a part of that tribe, part of that community. So does an entirely new system need permission from the old one in order to exist? No, absolutely not. We don't have to ask permission. We don't have to wait on a government to tell us it's okay to do it. It's something that you can do right here in your own home. Start it there, build it outward into your community itself. Examples of this are intentional communities, right? We've seen a few of those pop up over the years. People who selectively choose to live together in either the same house or multiple houses. and they all grow their own food. This is like the ultimate setup, I would say. It sounds amazing. But unfortunately, not all of us have that. But this also includes monasteries, religious orders, indigenous communities that are maintaining their cultural structures, cooperatives, and homeschooling networks are another big one. If you guys had any thoughts come to mind yet, or I say you guys, I guess Shannon, excuse me, is there any thoughts that you'd like to share so far with everything we've said?
No, I mean, I think you're, throwing those things out there. What comes up for me and what's coming up for me today is I had a male friend of mine who's also a shamanic practitioner reach out to me to form a practitioner community where we are here in Massachusetts. And the way that he spoke it to me was like he's experiencing this intense feeling of hunger for community, for connection. And I think that this is something that's brewing where I live. One of my colleagues here is starting a masculine support circle. And so I'm just seeing two of these things emerging in the sacred masculine. And, I think women's circles have been happening for a long time. Intentional communities, the ones that are local around here, they have been pretty established for like a good 15, 20, 30 years. But I feel this tangibly arising in the masculine right now. And I like it. I think that it's good that there is that hunger for community, for connection, not from a place of dominance and wanting to control, but in genuinely wanting to create these threads of connection from a very intentional space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And it's good. We need more of that. And that's a really good segue into what we're talking about today. I mean, we spoke about this a lot more in our previous live. And just to kind of touch base on that real quick, I've been trying to upload that video for a week now, and it's not been working. So I'm going to try again today after we're done. So if you've been looking for last week's, that's why you haven't been able to find it yet. But that being said, we did discuss this a lot in that last week, how it's up to us, right? Like it's on us to be the ones to start building these things. And where we see the gap, right? There's a gap between what's needed and what's being provided. That's where we come in as the bridge builders, as the gap fillers. A great example is like what Shannon just said. If you're a man and you have a desire to help young men become men, right? Young boys become men, then it is your duty. Spirit has given you that inspiration for a reason. And it usually means you're the one that's meant to bring it forward. I think that a lot of times we get caught in our head of like, it doesn't exist. So there's my excuse and now I'm not going to do it. But that's just not how it truly works. If you feel inspired for something that you're hungry for, but you're not seeing it, it's a huge indication that maybe it is you that's supposed to go out and start this, to fulfill it, to get it going. And I bet you anything that if you were to just get started, you would start to see how many people in your surrounding area would love to help you to take part in that. All it really takes is just one brave soul to step forward and say, you know what, I'm going to be the one to do it. I'm just going to do it. So I love that you mentioned that, because that kind of also ties into what we're also talking about today, about what is a man's role in a matriarchy or in a matriarchal setting. Men can be support for us by advocating for women in rooms that we are not in. And this is going to sound so silly to some of you. Some of you, it's going to be like, oh, how does that help? You have no idea how much it helps. When enough men are willing to do these things, that's what changes a culture. That's what changes the society. So the first one is advocating for women in the rooms that they're not in. Promoting qualified women, right? If a woman is qualified, the only reason she doesn't get the job is because there's a man with equal qualification and you're that man. I would be the one to step up and say, I appreciate this, but this woman's way more qualified than I am. Be the voice that she needs in that moment. You can also challenge misogyny around other men, right? This is something that happens so often, and we don't even recognize it anymore because it's so prevalent in our culture. But when you are at the water cooler with the dudes and you guys are all talking about women, are you going to continue that conversation, or are you going to be the one to say, "This dude, that's disrespectful. Let's not say those things," you know? I'll tell you 100% of the time, women find that so much more hot than for you to just be talking about her appearances or what you want to do to her. Another one is practicing listening without immediately moving to solving or trying to control the situation, right? So a lot of this, of the men's role of what they can do, it comes back, I feel, to their own emotional intelligence, their own emotional maturity, which then brings us straight back to what we were just talking about, Shannon, the need for these men's spaces. They have to exist. Women, as women, it's so natural for us to get in touch and in tune with our emotions. But for men, it's so much harder, I believe, because there's not enough men out there that are leading that trail. They're not blazing that path to say, this is how we do it, men. And I think that, if anything, that's what we're craving the most as a society right now. As far as like movements on the board, right? Like, what is the next move that needs to happen? It's that. It's getting men back in touch with their emotional intelligence, helping them feel pride again for who they are and what they do offer the world. The problem is that we're always getting faced with our society, right? Our society is always feeding us these things. So that's the toughest part, is that it really truly has to come from inside of each individual person. So with that being said, Shannon, anything you'd like to add?
I got nothing off the top of my head right now. Okay. I'm kind of just, there's so many layers and pieces that I feel are, contribute to this, that it's hard for me to condense it into single thought forms.
Yeah, it's incredibly tough.
I just to piggyback off what you're just saying, like, the support systems that are available to men are very religious based.
Right.
And as somebody who works in mental health, there are very few resources. Therapy can be really intimidating. What are the support spaces for the spiritually, anchored man that is outside of Christianity? There are not a lot. So, I would happily facilitate these kind of things for men, and I have done so before, but it feels like they need a sacred space that is just for them. Mm-hmm. And I hope that this is a trend that is starting to emerge, and I see it happening. And it's interesting. Most of the spiritually grounded men I know, I've met on here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know any in real space aside from my, a handful of people. But like, what are the resources for men to be able to come into that? I know we look like twins today. Sorry. We did not plan to dress alike. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I guess that's my 2 cents on that for right now. And like you said, I think that there are men who are feeling the call to this, and it's so intimidating to begin that first step. And this is I don't know if people followed the woman Kelsey Fetter, who was rowing from California to Hawaii, but she said something at one of her journeys, like, what at the end, right as she got to land, like, what is that big scary thing that you're feeling called to do right now? And I think a lot of people are feeling a call to create or do or be, and it's sometimes you have to do it scared. You have to do it scared. And that is very intimidating to people, but this is, I think, where women can help support men in this, is like empowering them to step into those roles. And like really try and foster that emotional intelligence growth. This is work that I do with children, with male children, specifically male teenagers. But it needs to happen on a much larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about that because we are women. It truly is the men who are going to have to feel at least enough passion to say, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to start. It might not be perfect. It probably won't. Just start, right? And yes, I don't know why that got hidden there, Heidi, but I see your comment, and accept that you will be blazing a trail that has not been made yet. Absolutely. There's a lot of emotional labor that goes into that. You have to have the emotional maturity to say, I'm able to sit with the discomfort of not having everyone agree with me at once, or sit with the discomfort of not having everyone fully understand yet what it is I'm trying to build. Because when we have a vision, it's our job to bring it forward so that others can understand that vision. But in the beginning, nobody's understanding the vision yet, including yourself, because you're stumbling into something brand new. It's gonna feel weird and awkward. It's gonna feel it might be pushing against some of your own traumas and events that have happened in your life that make your autopilot is to get mad when someone expresses themselves a certain way. So now you're being challenged to process things a little differently, right? It is a journey. It's a full-on journey, and it's worth it. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the women can't do it for the men. They've got to start doing that for themselves. In the meantime, this kind of brings me to the next topic. But I think we really should talk about decentering men. I want to talk about it because does it hold validity? Yes, it does. But it's not from a place of hatred, and it's not from a place of anger or frustration or I hate males. It's not that. When we say decentering men, what we're talking about, it's not hating men or excluding them or refusing a partnership with them or rejecting masculinity altogether. Like, that's not what we're talking about. It is this. Are your choices reflecting your values or someone else's? Is your identity rooted in who you are or in who someone else is? Have you built your life around approval, validation, or expectation? If you've answered yes to those, that's a good indicator, right? That it doesn't have to be a man. You could be centering your life around another woman. It could be your mother. It could be your siblings. It could be your best friend. So these questions are good to ask yourself no matter what. But essentially, at the end of the day, it's about centering you, your needs, your ability to get things done without having someone, that you have to rely on to get that done. At the end of the day, though, this is discussing specifically about men because of the centering that happens through the patriarchy without us even thinking about it, right? It's just like an autopilot thing. We're born with this concept that like the men are up here, the women are always down here, and we must always serve the men. So it's a practice, I would say, a practice in self-love to be able to decenter men when we say this. And for the millionth time, no, we're not twins. We get that a lot, though, and we did wear the same shirt today, or close enough. Let's see. Because historically, women have organized communities, obviously, around children and elders and food security and land stewardship and education and relationships. And that's what separates them from a patriarchal worldview, because the patriarchal worldview is centered around corporatism, right? Buying, selling, who can get on top? Who do we have to beat to be the one on top? And that's just not even the same format that women would use if they were in control, so to speak. So what happens when women are orienting around their purpose instead of approval? Well, we'll see much more of this matriarchal frameworks start to take place in your life when that happens. Because now you're naturally allowing yourself to think about the things that are most important to you. And when you find what is important to you, typically is what's important for the all. It's for the most part, So, for example, if you're given a task, I have to create something. Well, more often than not, the woman would create it with a lot of other dynamics in mind of that creation. It's because it's just naturally how women's minds work. And I say that obviously in a nuanced way, because it's not every woman, but most women, our brains think that way. We're already wired to think about the goodwill, the health of the children, the elders, anyone else in the family, the dogs, the pets, we think about it all. And that just typically isn't what we see in men, which is why it's so important for there to be that balance of leadership there. Because we can't just be controlled by what a man's whimsy is, what he says goes. When half of the population is women, right? It's like that. Words. That study they just did about how. Oh God, I totally lost it. My brain today. Thank you. My brain today. They did a study about something, and I completely lost that thought. Do you have a thought to share, Shannon?
Oh no, but I wish I could psychically pick up what you just lost there.
I lost it.
Listening to a podcast that had Robin Wall Kimmerer as a guest this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that she posits much of what we've been talking about as far as like making a shift into a more inclusive worldview, society, and whatnot. And, for me, I always reflect everything to the natural world, to the natural order of things. And, we don't see any dominant species in the world as much as we think. Like, you take a predator and think that that's dominant, but no, they're living in alignment with the laws of balance. They're never taking more than they can use.
Right.
And so bringing, for me, it has to come back into us living in alignment with that harmony and balance. And, stepping aside from whether it's patriarchal or matriarchal, are we living in harmony? Are we creating a space that creates safety for the lowest among us?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the children first. And until we start prioritizing children's health and well-being and creating functional human beings through the raising up of our children, then we're fucking up.
Yeah.
Whatever the mode of operation is, it doesn't matter what the title is. If that's not our central focus point, then we're fucking up.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, great point, because that is something else that we discuss here as well, is we're using these terms so loosely: patriarchy, matriarchy. These are all words that are created under the patriarchy, so they're not accurate or adequate, both, for us to be able to really comprehend what we're trying to portray. That's why for a while here we call it the natural order, because honestly it feels that way. That's how all of the cultures began, was through this type of matrifocal setting. So yeah, I mean, words are fun, and then you lose the words, and then you don't, and then you have nothing to say because you're like, my brain's fried right now. What was I saying? But yeah, anyway, that's the thing, right? People get so triggered with the word matriarchy, but what they're not slowing down enough to notice is that we're only using the words we have available to describe what it is that we're trying to do, that we want to do differently than what is being done now. It creates such an uproar, which is crazy, because you don't realize, I mean, most of the time it's men who are not realizing that the patriarchy is hurting them too. And a matriarchal setting, or the natural order, or whatever you want to call it, would benefit them as well. And I think that if more of them knew that, they would probably be more of them on board, which is kind of why we wanted to do this discussion, this whole series to begin with, is to really help to break down these words, the verbiage of what we're trying to explain. Yes, Amy, I agree. They're triggered because they think that we would be oppressors like the men are in a patriarchy. And you're absolutely right, because that's the only frame of reference that they have to work off of right now. It's the only thing any of us, have ever known or seen is a patriarchal setting. So their brains automatically, which is interesting, isn't it? Their brains automatically are like, well, if we're going to be treated the way that we treat them, then hell no, I don't want that. Oh, which is wild. It's good that the conversation is happening. I agree, Heidi. So what would make your community more resilient? What's the first thing that comes to mind with that, Shannon?
Oh, I am grateful for where I live. I live in a very tight-knit community. And, the unfortunate part about the human story is that I think we all feel driven to be more connected and more helping each other, right? But it's in the midst of tragedy that we really rise up to those circumstances, right? So, where I live, for example, my son was hit by a car in January of 2020. I was out of work for 10 weeks, didn't have a paycheck, had nothing. My community paid my bills, gave us groceries, held us up. Mm-hmm. And so that resiliency piece comes from taking the initiative to take care of each other, right? Right. And so we think of the word resilient as it relates to someone who's endured a lot of trauma, right? Or at least this is my association with the word. That resilience comes in being like a strong survivor. But what if our resiliency came in being resistant to systems that create the trauma, mm-hmm. right? What if we were able to kind of supersede that and miss out on that step where we can become resilient because we're empowered, not because we've experienced so much trauma and risen up from that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We need to, again, I think it comes back to the conversation of who's going to be the bold one to step up first. Who's going to be the bold one to step up first? Uh-huh. Who's going to be the bold one to step up first? And it doesn't need to be this huge plan. Start small. Start in your hometown. Start in your community that you have. I get teary-eyed talking about it because I see the beautiful potential of what this world can look like, of what it could be, if only more of us would do that. Don't be afraid of being embarrassed. Don't be afraid of how you will appear to other people. Just start making the phone calls. Just start asking around. How do I get involved with fill in the blank? How do I use this community building? Who do I need to contact? And how much is it? Will it be free? Do I have to pay? Just start asking the questions and you'll see this passion project start to unfold before your very eyes. Every piece will start to fit in like it's supposed to when you open your heart up enough to say, yes, I'm just going to do it. And honestly, I feel like that's the pivot point for this whole thing. Because if enough of us are able to do that, it literally changes the entire atmosphere of your hometown. And what I see as a seer, as from the eagle's perspective, right, is watching these small groups start to light up bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you're looking at, let's say, the whole of the United States, all of a sudden is just illuminated because of all of these little communities that are starting to pop up everywhere. Again, it doesn't need to be buying 53 acres and building a ton of tiny houses. If you want to do that, awesome. But it doesn't have to be that. It can just start where you are. Just start with what you have. I'm going to read some of these comments if you have any comments to make as well, Shannon.
Yeah, no, I just want to shout out my friend Heidi Sue, who's in the comments. We spoke last time about the community kitchen project. Her house is the one that we started that group in. So I think she organically just ended up here, and I love that, Heidi, if you're still here. Um, yeah, I think that, just I'm seeing some of the comments too about loneliness and people having a hard time, making friends or feeling isolated. In my own spaces. Yay, Heidi Sue, that's her right there. Please move back up here so we can start an entire project together. Um, but in my own space, I have a lot of social awkwardness. I'm an introvert who is extroverted because I have children, and I do work that community is very important to me because I have felt so isolated and because I have experienced loneliness. So I create community not because I'm inherently a social person, but I'm doing it from a trauma response, honestly, because I understand what loneliness and isolation feels like.
Mm-hmm.
So I do projects in my community that help gather people together, and that is how I've made most of the connections with people that I interact with. So to the people that I see that are commenting about struggling with loneliness and how to do that, like find an empty plot in your town and start a community garden or a community art project or something along those lines, and people will gravitate towards that. Moths are drawn to the light. We're all assigned to be the light where we are, and that draws the people together, and that's how community is built, is somebody having an idea and initiating that, even though it's scary, even though it's intimidating, and the pieces usually fall into place once the intention and the ball gets rolling on those, or at least that's always been my experience.
Mm-hmm. And we see this question down here, 50% of us have 0 to 2 friends. How do you make a real friend, do business / get work, find real love? I feel like I need a little bit more clarification for what you're asking, but I mean, at the end of the day, we are, it is absolutely, I want to make sure that I do address this. It is absolutely a real thing that it's completely hard to make friends, especially as you get older, as you have children, or as you're kind of fitting into your groove of your life. Friends are kind of outside of that groove. So it's really about making the effort. And not being discouraged when that effort isn't met, right? It's kind of like it's kind of like applying for a job. You send out 1 million resumes and you expect maybe 1 or 2 to contact you back. From 1,000 that you've sent out, maybe a couple will reach out to you, right? It's kind of like that when you're looking for this friendship, right? Because you never know. People have their own reasons for not being a good friend. But all you can do is be in control of how you show up to a friendship. That's it. Obviously, set strong boundaries, but let it be known right off the top. Like, hey, I want to be your friend. Let's be friends. I mean, that's how 4-year-olds do it on the playground. I like your T-Rex. Can we hang out? Yeah, let's. I like your truck. Let's put the T-Rex on the truck. Let's form a team. Let's do something cool like and it's beautiful. They don't get caught between these like boundaries that we set, invisible boundaries, I would say, that we set for each other. Like, oh, is she gonna be mean if I say hi, or is he gonna be like an a-hole if I make a joke or whatever? Like so it is tough. I do want to appreciate that. It is. Yeah, and I agree. There's trauma behind a lot of yeah. Sorry, my conversation is like, nope, it's still going this way. So there's a lot of women behind that are dealing with that. I'm saying women, probably men too. I'm only saying women because I know from personal experience, from having to deal with women and trying to start friendships. Unfortunately, a lot of women are being driven by their trauma. and their frozen nervous systems, correct. But even more so, the reason why we should be creating these safe spaces, because if they don't feel like they have anywhere to be themselves, to express that trauma, to even if you're just an ear for them to listen to what they're going through, sometimes that's all they need for them to actually come out of it, right? It's really just a matter of, are you going to be the friend first? Are you going to be the one, again, blazing that trail, stepping forward first and saying, I'm choosing to be the strong one right now, no matter what happens, no matter how many resumes I'm sending out, I'm going to be strong enough for the one or two that actually do come back and want to feed this friendship, this situation. Yes, are you safe is a big one too. Yeah, I agree. You've got to be the safe person, as well as allowing them to be that for you too. That's the thing. Like I created a video this past week as Effie talking about this. You know, what are your reasons for looking for friends? Do you want them to just be a pretty posse that stands behind you, that makes you look good? Because there are some women out there like that. Or is it genuinely, I want to build something beautiful that's never been seen or done before with other women that are helping younger women, or in the men's case, men helping younger men. I want to build it. I want to do it. It's a passion. It's honestly a passion that comes from within you. And if you don't feel like you have that passion, ask for it. This is a spiritual space here, so I'm definitely going to bring up that part, like ask spirit. I want to have a passion for this. I want to know where my niche is. Where's my groove? Where is my area of expertise? And spirit will show you. Spirit will guide you right to the edge of it and say, there it is. Here's your first step. Here's your next step. It's really just about trusting that process. Burma, I agree. There's a fine line between helping and getting pulled into a chaos. That's why I said in the beginning, it's important to set strong boundaries. And these are healthy boundaries. I don't mean the unhealthy ones of like, I'm never going to open up to you because I don't open up to people. That's not a healthy boundary. A healthy boundary would look like, I'm going to feed a little bit into this friendship and see what comes back. That's a healthy boundary. If you feel like you're constantly being taken from, that's where you set that healthy boundary. You can still love a person and don't expect that they're doing it on purpose. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just something that happens naturally for them because they're still working in that trauma pattern brain that they're in of like, well, this is how I attract people. This is how I keep people. But maybe that's why you're in their life now, is to show them that there's a different way. There's a new way to become friends with somebody in a healthy way, a healthy environment where you are helping each other. Such a tough conversation, Shannon. It's so tough.
Yeah. I have a client right now who I'm helping work through. She has anxious attachment. And that anxious attachment doesn't just show up in her romantic relationships, but in her friendships. And so recognizing, we're so hyper connected now in having access to our phones. You would have made a friend 20 years ago and been able to have space between that friend with, as it relates to like your connection when you're talking to them, things like that. Whereas now you text somebody, you see they've read it, and this creates a trauma response. Well, why didn't they respond? What's going on? They probably don't like me, right? So I think identifying your relationship style and pattern is also helpful if you're struggling in creating friendships and boundaries with people, because that anxious attachment is very real as it relates to creating friendships. And in those moments where you feel triggered, like you've put yourself out there and they didn't respond, or they read a message and they didn't get right back, taking a step back and recognizing, okay, this is a human that's living their life. They're moving at a pace, and I'm gonna expect that they're treating me in the same way that I want to be treated, unless they show me otherwise. Mm-hmm. But our time is distorted as it relates to the way that we communicate nowadays. And so I think that causes a lot of distortion in new relationships and new friendships forming.
Mm-hmm.
Technology has definitely shifted the energy. You know, it's been wonderful. Desiree and I would not have connected if we were not on the internet here on this app.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're also hyper connected with so many human beings that it makes it difficult to discern how we're giving out our energy to those relationships and making sure that we're getting nourishment, that there's always reciprocity in those friendships and spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. All right. We are going to go ahead and open it up now. Mm-hmm. Amy, you requested, so I'll connect you here. Hello, Amy. Oh, you're another twin, Hayes. Nice. Oh, Amy just left. Okay, so we are gonna open it up now for you guys. If anybody wants to hop in the box and ask a question, share an opinion or a comment, we are happy to talk it out.
You don't have to be wearing a maroon shirt. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be wearing the maroon shirt, although it would be funny. Okay, so you didn't mean to come in. No worries. No worries. But yeah, so I love that we were able to meet these through spring, honestly, and beginning of summer to do this matriarchal discussion here with the Wolfmothers Council, because I think that this is the momentum that I feel and that I see the world heading towards. We just need to find the better words for it. We need to ask the better questions about it. We need to figure out how to get it done. And so that's what we wanted to do with these lives, was to help create that vision for everyone. Because again, people perish from a lack of vision. So if you have the vision, it leads very much into manifestation as well. You know, it's about creating your vision board. It's something that you can look at daily to remind yourself that this is what I want for my future. And so, you know, I don't think it's weird at all if you want to create a vision board for your community. I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a great idea of something you could do. Yeah. It's about starting that community and creating that vision board. I don't know about you, Shannon, but I'm still very much a hands-on person. I love cutting out magazines and creating collages. It's the best.
Yeah. I mean, I work in art therapy, so.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's the thing, Amy. It's good to have the vision if you're unsure of how to start the community. That's what we were tapping into here today, was just ask Spirit to help you, because Spirit is there to be a partner in this process, right? If you don't feel comfortable enough to ask Spirit, then ask others who are doing it, how they're doing it. That's why I had Shannon last week share step by step how she's doing the community kitchens in her community, because I wanted you guys to know how simple it actually can be. Yes. Okay, so let's talk on that for a little bit, Shannon. The difficulty feeling drawn but struggling with low self-esteem, or like you're not qualified to lead. I want to share something, and then I want Shannon to share her opinion on this as well. But the first thing that came to mind for me is something that I was told a long time ago, and it has stuck by me and helped me so much. When I started doing this social media content and, you know, being a spiritual mentor and helping people in that way and stuff, I was reminded that I don't have to be the expert of everything. All I have to do is know how to help the person right behind me who needs that hand to get pulled up to where I'm at. That's it. I don't have to know all the mysteries of the universe. I don't have to understand how everything works. But what I do know is from my own experience of how I pulled myself out of fill in the blank, A, B, C, and D. So if the person behind me is still stuck in A, B, C, and D, all they need is that information of how to get out of A, B, C, and D. That's it. So don't over process it to the point to where you feel so small. all you have to do is just help the next person behind you, because all they need is that extra hand, that hand to help pull them up. In some situations, that can be the younger generations, the teenage girls or the teenage boys that need some type of mentorship in their life. They need some woman or man that they can look up to as an authoritative figure that they trust and that they find to be safe. What I have loved as well is doing something with an intention behind it, yes, but the intention doesn't have to be huge. Sometimes the intention is just creating the community. So if it's creating, a small town basketball team or whatever, and you're all gathering because you know how to play basketball and they don't, but you're also building that community by building the fellowship of having those players learn about teamwork, learning about how to, fill in all those blanks. You get what I'm saying? Shannon, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna. So to bring it back to Heidi's point, imposter syndrome is very real, and this is a patriarchal thing that we have been imparted with. We live in a society that is very tiered, and you're expected to have expertise, this, that, and the other thing. And people who have the confidence to put themselves out there, it's intimidating if that's not where your skill set is. But to be honest, having the heart to do something is far more powerful than having certification, skill sets, all of those things. If your heart is invested in it, your arms are an extension and your hands are an extension of your heart space. So anything that you are creating, as long as you are grounded in your heart, I think the path clears for us when we set that intention and we say, no matter what, this is where my heart is at. And to bring it back to what Desiree said at the beginning, if this has been placed on your heart, it's because that's your mission, right? So I use a term often called quest ions. If you take a balloon and you rub it, it creates a magnetic resonance. And now it's magnetically charged to defy gravity. If you ask the questions, you create an ionic resonance within your own being that will draw the people, places, and things to you to accomplish those things. And I think that when we surrender the fear, and we do it scared anyways, that is how the path opens up before us. Who the fuck am I to be sitting here talking to all of you? And anytime that I'm ever in a position where, Robin Wall Kilmer, who I spoke about before, she wrote the book Braiding Sweetgrass. I was asked to be a presenter before her at a conference. And I thought, who the fuck am I to be presenting this? And also deeply honored that my name was put on a suggestion list of someone to do that, right? So if we operate from an understanding of, I'm not going to let myself be held back by fear, because that came from a man somewhere in my brain. That came from someone who oppressed me or pushed me down and told me I wasn't enough. And I don't give a fuck about that voice anymore. I'm going to move past that and always operate from my heart. And I don't know how I get shit done, but that's how I get shit done.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I mean, when you're operating from the heart, you're operating from your authenticity, and your authenticity will tell you whether something needs to be done or not, or what needs to be done, right? It'll say, if I'm being honest, I have to reach out to this hall, this community hall that's in my little neighborhood. If I'm being honest, I'm probably going to need that space for fill in those blanks. So I'm just going to start there. I'm just going to call around, make some phone calls, see where your path leads you, see where the next step takes you, honestly. Yeah, and I love the conversations happening here in the chat, because absolutely right. You don't need a whole bunch of money to do it either. But if you do come up into a situation where you need money for a certain part of something, ask your community, ask the people who are coming to it. Hey, the only reason why we're going to ask for a $5 or $10 donation is to pay for the overhead of the building that we're renting out for this event. Whatever. Nobody has to get paid. And if everybody pitches in a little bit, it's okay. Like, it will work. And there's always ways to make it work. Creativity is always finding ways just like water. It'll always find a way to work. You just have to work with it. I truly believe that. And if you've got that open heart to want to work with it, it will. It will. If you believe that it won't work, it won't. Because what you believe is true no matter what. If you believe it's going to work, it will. If you don't, it won't. I'll leave it there for a sec. Let that land for a minute.
Yeah. Bring it back to the plant again that we started with at the beginning, which is the St. John's wort. This is, think of Vitruvian Man, Leonardo da Vinci. So when we stand with our arms outright, we become the 5-pointed star. Mm-hmm. And if you see this plant, see how that is bursting out. This is when we're standing in our fully empowered life force. When we lead with our power rather than our fear, we clear the path with our energy before we even get to the space. Mm-hmm. Right? So the plant is exemplifying for us that when we project that power outward, when we project our intention outward, it clears the path before we even get there. Mm. And that when we live from that place of saying, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I know that I'm supposed to be in this space, and we stand fully anchored and rooted in our feet, arms out wide. I'm ready to do this. Then our power is what leads. And we don't, when that is what I mean by doing it afraid anyways, with the intention of, I know this is going to work out for me because every fucking thing I've done has worked out for me.
Yes.
It may not have happened the way that I wanted it to, but everything in the past 50 years of my life have worked out for me. So if I genuinely believe that if women started operating from this sense of power, we would get shit done in like a year's time. Collectively. I genuinely believe this, and I've seen it happen. So that's, let this conversation plant seeds among all of you who have been here and those of you who are watching afterwards. Mm-hmm. Like, it really is because we've been so disempowered and we stay in these stagnant, stuck places feeling the imposter syndrome, feeling like we can't possibly branch out. Like, all of that is very intentional. Everything since 2020 has been meant to fragment and disempower and keep us divided and separated. We have to rise up through that. And that's really what the intention of these conversations has been about. Mm-hmm. Is not about dismantling or destroying or anything, but rising up through it and creating from within that space.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Absolutely. It's crazy because I feel like a dog on a leash. It's like, just let me at it.
Yeah, right.
If we could just get this done. Uh-huh. I love it, though. I love it. It's such a good conversation. And I wanted to mention this, too. I mean, I don't want to throw you guys into a deep end here real quick, but I'm going to probably do that for some of you. But if you're really struggling with who you are or feeling like you're not enough, what I have done, and this might help some of you, is I truly think about death. I do. Because it reminds me that I actually only have this one life to do anything and everything that I want to do in it. And I don't want to spend my last hours looking back on my life saying, I cared so much about what other people thought of me that it crippled me to never get done the things that I truly wanted to do. And because of that alone, that sets a strong boundary for myself to recognize that at the end of the day, we're all human. Nobody is perfect. Nobody's going to do it better than you can do it because it's been given to you to do the vision. All you need to do is just get started. And because nobody's perfect, you give yourself freedom to say, so am I. I'm also not perfect. I'm also not the perfect one. And that's okay. because we're all just stumbling around in the dark anyway, trying to figure out this life stuff. You would be so surprised how many people will respond to you just stepping out, just being the one to step out and do the thing, right? So hold on, I got that little puzzle piece that came in. Okay. You would be so surprised. You'd be so surprised. There's so many people that want it, but nobody wants to start it. So who we're talking to in these chats are the blaze trails, right? The ones who are blazing the trails, the blaze runners. I don't know what you'd call it. The ones who are blazing the trail. You're the one that we're talking to in these conversations, because there are so many people that just don't have it. They don't have the capacity to figure it out. Some of you might feel like you don't either, but at least you're in a place right now where you're asking the questions, and that's already leaps and bounds above most people who feel genuinely hopeless. And if we could be that light to those people, we just bring that little extra spark to those who need it, you would be so amazed. All it takes is a little bit too, right? Like it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't. Trailblazers, thank you. Yes, it can be frightening. Those first steps can be, but speaking from experience, like if I were to give you an example from my life, starting this social media journey that I've been on for about a decade now, honestly. When I first started out, I was posting more of my artwork. I wasn't doing so much more of this. It was more of like my photography and my digital collages that I make and whatever, all that stuff. It was small baby steps that it started out with. I just want to share my art. And then I realized from there, it was about consistency and posting regularly. So I just started getting into a pattern. And I'm telling you this because this is what it will look like. It's a small step every so often that gets you to where you want to go. Don't be, I know it's easier said than done, but don't be too dissuaded by what other people will think. More times than not, I will promise you, they want what you're wanting to offer them. They need it. They know they need it. They just haven't found the right fit yet. You could be that right fit that they need. Like legitimately, you would be that fit that they're waiting for when you're the one to step out and finally do it, start it. So I know it's a big pep talk. I hope it's helping some of you. I hope it's helping. All right, we had some filtered comments here. I don't know why it's filtering them. You guys all have great comments, so I'm going to approve all those. There we go. Yeah, see, and that's it. Christy, I love that you said that, because that's it. That's all it is. Hey, I'm going to have a group of 20 girls, 10 girls, 5 girls coming over to my house. We're going to have a date night, movie and a date. It doesn't have to be this huge elaborate thing. Just start. Just start. I know I feel like a broken record at this point, but it's so true. It's so true.
And you know, the just start part also, like we live in such an instant gratification world, but it's really about making micro adjustments where change happens, right? So I use an analogy often with clients that I'm working with. If I am in Massachusetts and I go to the airport and I am facing west, I'm going to land in San Francisco. If the plane moves 2 feet, it will fly to Washington, D.C. 2 monumentally different spaces, and yet that micro adjustment of 2 feet is what changed the trajectory. Mm-hmm. So it's about facing the right direction and taking micro adjustment steps from there. And don't waver once you're in that direction, right? Once we start moving in a direction and then we stop or we get the trauma freeze or those things, like this is where it's the pushing through that really is how we get things done. And it's in those micro moments of when the fear surfaces, well, what are we really afraid of in that moment? We're afraid of ejection, or we're afraid we're going to get laughed at, or we have some sort of thing. Move through it. I sometimes will play a character in my own head, and she's very assertive and she doesn't fuck around. So if I'm feeling scared, I let her come out. And she's the one who does the moving and the talking. Mm-hmm. And that's you know, sometimes we have to do things in ways that seem a little outlandish, but really just jump in.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that you said that. Yeah, I've got one too. Her name is Olgie.
Yeah, you got characters in
You
there.
don't want to mess with her. Oh. All right. Well, guys, I've really appreciated you guys showing up, especially a lot of you that I see come back every single chat that we have. So I'm so grateful for you guys. I'm grateful that you are so passionate about this conversation as we are. And I just want to send you my blessing. I want to send you both of our blessings to all of you, that this work, may it begin, right? May it just start. May the passion come. May the ideas come. May Spirit sprinkle down all of those inspirations to each and every one of you. And I'm excited to see what happens. I truly am. I think that it's going to feel really slow. I think it will at first. But what we don't recognize is that it's happening all over in little small spurts. And the more that happens, the larger it will grow. And as long as you can hold on to that vision, the vision of that, you're unstoppable, baby. You're unstoppable. You can do this. You can. Do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share, Shannon, before we close out this chat?
It's fascinating to think about, when we did this a while ago and then you brought it back up to do it again. And this has felt very different than the last time that we did this. So in that, I feel very inspired and I feel the momentum is very real. It doesn't feel like a nebulous concept right now because I think that many people are feeling pulled in this direction. I think that we're in a place of like planting the seeds to bring all of this together. And I don't know what that looks like on a larger scale. In my own fantasy and in having read comments, like I would love to have gatherings kind of all over the country where we all come together, even if it's just for a weekend or a week where we can all brainstorm and just be present and nourish and nurture each other and have these conversations and make connections to help each other build things up where we are. So if nothing else, that the seed of inspiration has been planted in me. So thank you to everybody who's shown up in all these 8 sessions that we've done. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like it was so long ago, but also in the blink of an eye. So time is strange like that right now. But I thank you all for coming.
Yes. And one last couple of things for this, just a little housekeeping for the community, but I wanted to mention one last time that I'm going to be speaking at the Magdalene Rising Summit, which is July 19th through the 22nd. It's a live event, completely free with 20 plus speakers, all centered around Mary Magdalene. So you can sign up for that or to register for that through the link in my bio. Also, I've opened my tarot reading window today, so I still have some spots available for that. That link can also be found in my bio. So last thoughts. I'm just so grateful again for every single one of you. We appreciate you here. And I'm sure Shannon and I will find some reasons to go live again really soon. But if you want to continue this conversation, if you have any questions beyond this conversation, please do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us. We are happy to help with whatever. If it's just bouncing an idea off of us, or if it's, asking a genuine question of like, how do you think I could get this thing done or that? We both are here. We would love to help because this is the vision. We share this vision. So there's no gatekeeping in that. We're all here to help each other grow, hopefully help the whole world to grow. So my heart to you all. We love you so much. And we will see you again soon.
Thank you.